over the next few weeks, these parshas deal with money, how people spend money. So in this week's parsha we have teruma, the donations for the building of the Mishkan. We will have later the machzor shekel, which was not voluntary. It was like a head tax. And that was for the maintenance of the Mishkan and the Beis HaMikdash, for the korbanos. And then we have the third instance is when they needed money to build the egel, to build the golden calf. So the Meforshim deal with this in different ways, but one of the ways they deal with it is where did the Jewish people have money? Came out of Mitzrayim, out of hundreds of years of servitude. So the vast majority of the Jews didn't really have money. So what they had was what they had borrowed from the Egyptians, but that was mainly utensils, clothing, as is indicated in the Tosuk. So they had the money from Bizas Yamsuf, from the booty of the Egyptians that they brought to Yamsuf. So in the ancient world, there always were, excuse me, there always were rules of conflict, like the Geneva Convention, rules of war, which in itself is a weird idea. But one of the rules in the ancient world was that when armies went to war, they brought money with them, large amounts of money, so that whoever won would have a financial benefit. It was meant as an incentive to the soldiers, because most of the soldiers were not paid a salary. They lived off of the booty, off of the spoils of war. So at Yamsuf, the Egyptians that were adorned with wealthy material, they had gold and silver, etc. And when they were drowned, so the Medrash says, Polta Ayom, the sea spat out all of these valuable things, and the Jews collected them. Everybody had a lot. And that's why it says, Vayasa Moshe es Yisrael miyamsuf. Vayasa, indicating that he forcibly made them leave, because they were still picking up money, valuables, jewels, etc. from Yam Suf. They didn't want to go. Moshe said, we got to go to Har Sinai. They said, we're still busy with this.
Nothing changed.
So this wealth that they had, they did not earn. It was not earned money. So that's why the Torah says, Kol ish asher yidvenu libo. So in a certain sense, the Meforshim say the psychology is that money that a person earns, the person is willing to put it to good use because he felt he worked for it. Money that falls to him from heaven, so he doesn't count that as his income. He doesn't count that as somehow that really is money that should be reckoned to him. I remember there was a Jew in Chicago that was a teacher, a Talmud Torah teacher. And after a number of years, he began to dabble in real estate, and he became very successful. but he would give money like a Talmud Torah teacher. And so he once said to me, he said, the money I get as a Talmud Torah teacher, that's parnosa. The other money is geld. Geld I don't have to give from.
It's the halacha.
And in halacha, that's recognized as well. So the Jewish people said, Kol isha sheyidvenu libo. This was voluntary. The machzos hashekel was not voluntary. But this was voluntary. So Chazal say a great rule, Yisrael nitvoim v'nosnim. You make an appeal by Jews, they'll give you money. Nitvoim lamishkan. If you make the appeal for the Mishkan, they'll give you. If you make the appeal for the Egel, they'll give you. They are not able to, so to speak, use their money wisely. They are not discriminate in how they spend it and what they give it for. And therefore, it becomes a question of who, so to speak, collects the money. You have to somehow give direction for the people to be able to give to the proper thing. And the Meforshim point out that really was Moshe's complaint to Aaron, Ma'osa l'cho hazeh. How did you let this happen? Because you said, go bring money, go bring the earrings, go bring the gold. So therefore they thought that it's okay to give to the Egel. Because you're the one that's making the appeal. So even though your intent certainly was not to make an Egel, and even though all of these things went awry, not because of you, but nevertheless you're held responsible. Because you gave it the imprimatur, you gave it the hechsher, so to speak, that it was permissible to give, and the Jewish people gave. So the Mishkan was built with the money from Mitzrayim, and the Egel was built from the money from Mitzrayim. And that was a lesson. And the lesson is that this money, so the Meforshim point out that the Egel was, so to speak, a punishment because of the fact that they didn't know how to use the money. Now, this is dependent on a machlokes in the Meforshim, whether the Egel came before the Mishkan or it came after the Mishkan. The Ramban holds that the whole Chumash is chronological, so the Mishkan came before the Egel. But many other Meforshim, Rishonim, hold that the Mishkan was a kapora for the Egel. Since you built the Egel, and you're willing to spend money on building the Egel, so you're going to do tshuva with the same things that you did the Aveira with. The Aveira was that you gave money for the Egel. The Aveira is that you gave your gold and silver for the Egel. So now you're going to do tshuva that you gave your gold and silver to be able to build the Mishkan. So the Mishkan was a kapora for the Egel. So therefore it would be a lesson as to how to spend your money. That, so to speak, the whole idea of building the Mishkan, which which will be discussed here over Shabbos, tomorrow over Shabbos, is what does the Rebbeinu Shalom need the Mishkan for? Lo chalar, it's kvodo. The Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't need buildings. So then it was given as, if you say, it was given as a means of kapora. It was given as an educational project for the Jewish people. So it was the building of the Mishkan that, so to speak, was more important than even the Mishkan itself. And that's why later we can find that the Mishkan disappears from Klal Yisrael, and that's all right. And later on we'll find that even the Batei HaMikdash disappeared from Klal Yisrael, because it was the building of the Batei HaMikdash that was the lesson, and not the building itself. So the building can disappear, but the lesson that was involved to build, and that's why it says the Osuli Migdash. The Osuli Migdash, so that the Meforshim discuss whether that's a mitzvah or not, or whether it's just a nice thing. But if you say it's a mitzvah, so the process is itself what the educational value of the item is. And therefore, regarding giving money generally for good causes, so sometimes a person gives money for a good cause, but the cause is not successful for various reasons. So is that money thrown out? So the Meforshim say, the Bali Musar, the Chassidish Yisrael, they all say the same thing. It's not, because that's the educational process. Whether or not it's successful, so that's totally in a lot of things that the person cannot control. So the Shaila always arises, people, there's a raffle, right? So you're going to sell 1,000 tickets for 100 shekel each, and the prize will be 25,000 shekel. So 1,000 people give the amount. One person wins. What's the schar of the other 999? They didn't win the raffle. So the schar is that they gave, even if you didn't win. And therefore, that's why people participate in a raffle, because even though we may, in our heart of hearts, all wish that we're going to win, we all know that our chances of winning are not great, and therefore we view it as a donation. The institution can keep the money because of the fact that it's the educational experience, it's the tzedakah itself that is sufficient, even if the purpose is not realized. And so I know people on a grander scale, I know people that gave a lot of money to certain institutions, and then the institution after a year or two was unsuccessful and closed. So is that money wasted? So again, it depends how we look at it. And part of this is the lesson that we learn from the parsha of teruma, from giving, right? Kol ish asher yidvenu libo. It's to train our heart to be able to give. But we have to be discerning as to what we give to. Because there's a tendency, especially in the Jewish world today, but there's always been that tendency really to give to causes that are not positive for Judaism or the Jewish people. We see today that a great deal of Chas v'Sholom, the anti-Israel organizations, are supported by Jews with enormous amounts of money. So to be able to give to the right thing is also a schus. Also, it's a benefit. So I remember the Ponevezh Rav, I went with him once, and we went to a very wealthy Jew, and the man was adamant that he was not going to give a penny. And the Rav thanked him for the audience, and then we went out. And he remarked to me, he said, Nebuch, this Jew has no schus. He didn't say disappointed that the yeshiva didn't get the money. He said, this Jew had a chance to do a good and great thing, and he passed up on it, so I feel sorry for him. He didn't say, I feel sorry for myself that we didn't get the money. So there's a way of looking at these things. And all of this is part of this idea in the Parsha of Kol ish asher yidvenu libo yitenes trumasi. Chananya ben Akashi Omer Rotza HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakos Es Yisrael Leficha Chir V'Lahem Torah Mitzvot Shenemar Adonai Chav Heitzman Tzidko Yagdil Torah Yadir.